During school, did you ever do air raid drills?
Yes.
What did you have to do for them?
Went downstairs in the basement and just kind of covered your head, leaned against the wall, concrete wall. That was pretty much it.
Did you ever see or hear about a bomb shelter?
Yes, we did, but exactly where it was at that particular time, I don't know. I think it was out of Fairchild. And I think they had several of them out there at that time.
People built bomb shelters too after the explosion at Hiroshima, or not Hiroshima. But yeah, when they heard about atomic bombs, people started putting in bomb shelters in their backyards. You know, they were panicked. They were really scared. Nobody knew about this stuff. You know, this is brand new, and it was something to be panicked about. We never knew.
Do you remember what was inside of them? If you've ever been in one?
Never was inside one.
Okay. What were your feelings towards them? Like, were you scared or...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you never know what the heck is going to come.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Especially during the 50s.
You know, whether it's for real or whether it's practice or whatever. You just don't know.
We always had air raid sign, or
Sirens.
Oh, and there was one right behind your house on that pole.
yes.
Yeah.
And that was a weekly or a monthly?
They went off every Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wednesday. Yeah.
That's right.
They were still doing it when I was young, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of gave you security. Because you knew that if something happened, you wouldn't have to worry about the internet or all this other junk you have nowadays.
Not working anymore.
Yeah.
You didn't even know about the internet back
No.
there, so that was good.
No.
God, yeah.
No.
Grief, no.
But it was security. You know, you knew that they were there. You knew what the purpose was.
At least to make you feel good.
It did make you feel good. It made you feel secure.
The only trouble was that we got so used to hearing this warning thing on Wednesday noon. People got so they didn't pay any attention to
Pay
it.
no attention to it.
And one day, the thing went off accidentally. You know, it wasn't Wednesday noon, and the siren went off, and nobody paid any attention to it at all.
I
So
can see
I
that.
don't know what good the darn thing was going to do.
Yeah, but that was years and years after they actually put that thing in. We knew it was kind of going downhill, so...
In the 50s, you know, there was a lot of that panic going on. A lot of people building
we're
bomb
talking
shelters.
60s.
Did you ever hear about nuclear weapons?
Back then, yeah, somewhat, you know.
It was mostly just bombing.
Were you scared of either us or the enemies getting threatened to be bombed?
No, not really.
Who was someone that made you feel more comfortable during all the time period?
Brother.
You mean like a famous person?
Or like family?
You didn't talk about stuff like that in the 60s. You didn't.
Yeah.
What you guys know now of the internet, the Facebook, your parents, they are vocal. Back then, people were not vocal. Parents kept to themselves. They didn't say to their children what was going on. So you were kind of naive.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it is with kids anyway, you know. I mean, they don't start worrying about it till they start hearing about it in high school and start delving into it. But, you know, and then there was, I don't know what period of time it was. It seems like, I mean, there was all the scare of the communists.
Do you ever remember watching TV or hearing anything on the radio about the war?
That's kind of funny because when I lived with my grandparents on the farm, we didn't have TV until I was 17 years old. And my parents weren't rich, so they didn't have TV until about 4 or 5 years later. So no, the only thing we got was radio.
Yeah.
Radio was the thing.
Do you know anybody that fought in the Vietnam War?
Yeah.
Who?
A friend of ours.
Well, and Hugh.
Hubie?
What was your biggest concern during the war?
I didn't have a concern. I was very gullible, had no idea. I knew they were fighting. I knew it was a stupid war. I wanted our boys back.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. Because it was not,
It really wasn't.
it was not
declared
brought,
war.
no, it wasn't declared a war. Plus, in those days, we're not as knowledgeable as what you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
We were very,
It was a war that we should never have been in
No.
to start with. Never.
no.
And they were already out of high school. I was right in the middle of high school at the time that the draft was going on for Vietnam. And so, of course, the stupid people in the 60s who treated those poor soldiers like crap when they came home, because that was the big peace movement, was the radical 60s. So it was a very sad war, and very sad for those guys that came home.
Were you scared more during the Cold War or now in today's society?
Oh, today's society is crazy.
When you were a child, did you hear people talking about nuclear weapons, and how were the general feelings towards these weapons?
You hear people talking about what?
Nuclear weapons.
Oh, good heavens. I never heard of a nuclear weapon when I was a kid. And I sure never heard any people talking about it until way into the 1940s was when they first came out with a nuclear bomb, wasn't it?
I think so.
Did you understand who the bad people were, and how did they portray them in this society?
How did they portray what?
The bad guys in the society.
In
Caught
general
them and put them
society,
in jail.
Did you understand who the bad guys were?
Well, okay, when I was growing up, the bad guys that I had any knowledge of were on the Saturday afternoon cowboy movies. In my neighborhood, Virginia Marsh and Virginia and Vivian Marsh were kids our age, Their dad was a meat butcher, but apparently he also was a bootlegger and had been in jail, served some at least jail time. I don't think he was in prison, but I think he was in jail for bootlegging at some time or other. But again, these things were not talked about.